Hi there, I'm Jennifer Large-Smith, and today we're going to be talking about autofilling lesson plans. At the end of today's presentation, there will be resources and templates for you to download. Is it just me, or does it seem like every single year we get a new lesson plan format that needs the same information, but it's just been rearranged into different spots on the template, and I get super frustrated? If this is you, I have the solution for you, and it is automatically filling lesson plans. So stay with me, and resources that are available at the end. If you can create a list, you can create an auto-filling lesson plan. And here's what the end product looks like. What you can see is I have a recreation of my lesson plan inside of Google Sheets, and then I have little drop-down arrows where I can select the standards or automatic replies from a list. And I'm going to show you how to do this. As an overview of the process, first we're going to recreate our lesson plan inside of Google Sheets. And then anything that we can auto-populate that commonly gets asked and we can drop down from a list and pick, we're going to create those lists in a different tab of the same spreadsheet. And then we're going to use something called data validation so that we get those drop-down menus and you can easily select them in the future. That way you have to cut and paste or type in the information just one time and it'll be there forever. I want you to grab your newest copy of your lesson plan and I want you to look at it carefully. We want to find the section of your lesson plan that has the most density of questions and answers. And then we're going to count those. How many questions and how many answers do we have? And then finally, we're going to know how many columns we need in our spreadsheet. And let me show you what that looks like. Here's my copy of the lesson plan from my district, and I'm looking for the area with the most questions. Now, I wanted to combine the teacher's name and the date and the days of the week into one row. So first is the teacher's name, and then the answer is another blank, date and its answer, and then the days of the week. I wanted that to be a checkoff box, so I went ahead and added 5 there. So that means that I have a total of 10 columns that I need in my lesson plan on my spreadsheet. So on my spreadsheet, this is what it looks like. And you can see that if I count from A to J, I've got 10 columns for my lesson plan. So here is my lesson plan document, and you can see I've put in most of the places that I need to have answers, so it's recreating it. But in order to merge some of the cells so that they look correctly, you have to highlight them and click this little button to merge the cells. You need to do that individually, otherwise it will delete some of your data. So whatever you want to get merged together, you tell it to merge. So here as I go through and go do that so that it looks proper, you can see right here the statement of inquiry. I really want it to encapsulate both of these cells like I did the one below, so I'm going to merge that. In the self input, if I started typing there, it would stay all in this one box, but I want it to go all the way across the boxes, so again, I'm going to merge those cells. Now, the other thing that you want to save for the very, very end is the different lines and outlining. If I look here where it says bell ringer, star, ACT, and then I have self input underneath, those are really the same answer, and I want them to look visually as if they're the same box. So I'm going to highlight that one, and I'm going to go up here to the borders. I'm going to select the bottom border, and because my background is white, I'm also going to select white there for that bottom border, and you can see that it disappears. So you can press Control Y to do that with the rest of them, so that visually it does stay together. And so now you can see that if I put information in that blue area, it's going to look like it goes with the information up above. When it comes to adding lists for your drop downs, you want to think about things like the objectives that you always have to put in, any state standards you always have to list, or commonly used answers that you're typing all the time over and over again so that they're automatically there for you. That's the kind of thing that you want to make in your drop downs. So for each list, you want to make a tab to hold that list. For example, you wouldn't need a tab for your objectives or your state standards. I like to do different tabs for each one. the formatting is not going to transfer. So if you're bold facing and all of that, your text, it doesn't transfer to the final page. Also, empty rows aren't going to transfer. So if you're relying on empty rows as a visual reference, put in a placeholder like a dash or stars or something like that. And repeated entries of the same thing don't list. So if you put in 1 star to be a space holder, maybe put in 2 stars for the next one to be a space holder. Let me show you what that looks like. If we look at my final lesson plan document, you'll notice that I have at the bottom different tabs. And each of these tabs is a different list. So for duration, that's time, and you can see that I have 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, that kind of thing. And for the state of Texas, we use standards called the TEKS. And to get those in there, I'm going to simply list them in this column, and I have some helper text of what to do over here on the right hand side in the template that you can pick up at the end. But all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my state website, and I am going to simply just copy my TEKS, and then I'm going to paste them in there. But what I want to do is I want to make sure I understand that that's the first TEK, so I'm going to put up here 1 because that's 1A and this is 1B. It just makes it easier. Now, whenever I go back to my template, you can see that those will now appear in my drop down. Here I've added a few more entries, and you can see that I have spaces in between some of my entries. Those are not going to show up, and for separation purposes from TEK 1 and TEK 2, I put 3 little asterisks. And notice I put 3 asterisks down here. It's not going to list the 3, but it will list the 4. So let me show you what I mean by that. And also notice that I have bolding in here. That's not going to translate to my lesson plan template. So if I look back at my original template and I go to my TEKS and I click the drop down, you'll see that the bolding doesn't show up, the space between doesn't show up. My 3 asterisks do, but the second listing of 3 asterisks doesn't. So I needed to do the 4. So those are things to look out for whenever you're creating your lists. Our final step, once we have our lists, is to make the drop-down menus using what's called data validation. The first thing that you're going to do is go to the cell that you want to make the drop-down in, and you're going to highlight it. Then you're going to go up to the top menus and click Data and drop down to Data Validation. Inside of data validation, in that window that pops up, you're going to end up clicking the little icon that looks like a window, and then you're going to go and change to the tab where your list is and highlight the column with your list that's in it. And then you just select OK. Let me show you how that works. Once we have created our lists and we're ready to create our drop downs, we select the cell where we want the drop down to appear, move up to the menu of data and down to data validation. We select that it's from a range, and then we need to enter the range, which we're going to click the little window and go to our tab that contains our list, which in this case is the TEKS. And then we're going to select the column that contains our information. And notice that it changed to the spreadsheet tab, TEKS, and column A, the entire thing. Then we press OK and save. Now if we return to our template, you can see that we now have a little arrow, and that gives us the drop down, which gives us the list of TEKS that's listed on the tab below. We can copy that and then paste it into all of the other rows, and again, those will do the same thing. Liked what you see today and you want to pick up some of my templates either to use and see how it's all put together, or you really like it for your own personal use, feel free to modify. Use the QR codes below to find out what you need. There is an IB Master lesson plan template that you saw me using in this example. If you need instructions of how I taught my teachers how to do it, the Tech Coach slideshow is a good place to start. Feel free to reuse anything there. And if you're into IB physics, this one is fairly well developed and you can start with that one. It's for the state of Texas and it's built with the 2020 TEKS. Thanks for coming and listening to me today. If you want some of the resources and to know more about me, you can go to my website. Here's all my information. If you scan that with your camera of your cell phone, it'll take you to all of my social media and my webpage so you can pick up your resources. Have a great day.